Let's jump into a Week 11 preview, do some studs and duds, and then close out the episode for you. Studs and duds, as always. Guys that are going to exceed expectations and guys that are going to disappoint. We want to set your expectations in the right spot there. Maybe persuade you to start somebody or bench somebody that you're thinking about. So good things to come here in studs and duds. Wes, hit me with your stud for Week 11.
Well, we've recently taken pride in our waiver wire segments, which is our obvious start and our under the radar, or not start, our obvious waiver wire ad and our under the radar waiver wire ad, because there are, usually one player that stands out every week. I'm not going to say this is a cop-out, but I want this to be clear in case anyone needs the reassurance, any reminders as to whether or not you should start this player. Fire up Devon Akane. All right. If anyone was worried, if anyone was scared, if anyone's not sure what the injury looks like, is on IR, if anyone wonders, I don't know, the Raiders are kind of on a roll. It's Antonio Pierce thing is kind of working. If anyone's looking at the Dolphins, might not be all that great. And, they have good record and stuff. Devon Akane is really freaking good. And even though he's just a rookie, he has been amazing. And everyone has been waiting to play him. So if you have ACHANE or you traded for ACHANE when he was put on IR, you fire him up and you probably just lock him in your lineup for the rest of the season, because that guy can get you 13 points on a single play. He is remarkable. So if anyone needed any kind of reassurance, anything, to know that it is worth starting Devon Akane, this is it. Fire him up and enjoy his return. He's my stud.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think we've been waiting on this. And I think, well, you may be a little concerned watching the game on Sunday if you're going to watch for him. I know he's going to be ready. Mike McDaniel wouldn't send him out there if he wasn't ready. But I do wonder what the workload looks like. I wonder if he'll reach 10 touches on Sunday. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He can get 7 touches on Sunday's game and score you 25 fantasy points. That's the kind of guy this guy is. That's the kind of skill that Devon Akane has, and that is the kind of hack that he is for fantasy football. And so go ahead, roll out Devon Akane. I'm terrified, Wes, because you're playing him against me, and I am horrified. I am not excited about this.
I'm hoping he's going to be amazing.
Hopefully he just matches Zay Flowers and scores 8 points. Who knows?
That's just for on one sake. Play, he might.
Yeah, maybe on one touch. Yeah, there you go. Listen, my stud for Week 10, we talked about it a little bit already, is Devontae Smith. He is back in action without Dallas Goedert. That is the key piece here. No Dallas Goedert last year led to a 27% target share for Devontae Smith. He was fantastic. He balled out in that 5-game span. He was incredible. And they go against Kansas City on Monday night. Now, Kansas City has allowed a touchdown to a wide receiver in 78% of their games this year. I believe that is 7 out of 9 of their games. They have allowed a receiving touchdown to a wide receiver. And he's going to pop off. And just the last piece to convince people on that is that Wes also has Devontae Smith in his lineup against me. So he's going to score 45 points. That's how that's going to go. It's just Devon Akane and Devontae Smith are going to put up 90 points collectively against me this weekend on your team, Wes. It's going to be great, because that's AJ Brown's going to put up 90 points by himself. That's what's going to happen, baby.
Oh, okay.
Book it. There you go.
I'm gonna need this.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
No, but Devontae Smith, week 11 stud, very, very easily. He is going to come out and be fantastic. So go ahead, fire him up. I know it's been up and down, but all the confidence in the world. You may be looking at it and go, well, they shut down Tyreek Hill. They shut down Jaylen Waddle pretty well, and Devontae Smith is fantastic. It's the Eagles and the Chiefs, and somehow, some way, big things are going to happen. So we'll see how it goes. But Devontae Smith is a week 11 stud.
He is good. It's been a fantasy disappointment, but I do think that is completely attributed to AJ Brown's MVP like season. And when someone is playing that gosh darn well, you just get him the football, especially when in week 2 when AJ Brown is like, give me the football. And then he gets the football and now he's breaking records. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was similar to last year when Goddard went down. Devon Smith stepped up in big ways where he was putting up 30-plus points. And, I mean, maybe this is why I was so high on him going into the years, because I lost in the semifinals to Devonta Smith against the Cowboys sometime around Christmas last year. So maybe that is what has persuaded me to believe he was a top 10 finish on the year. But without Goddard, that is when Smith stepped up last year. And I do have faith. Kind of feels like now or never, If he doesn't put up big time points in fantasy this year, he could be a bench candidate.
Yeah, you're right. It's now or never, and it's going to happen. It's now. That's where we're at. That's it.
Yeah.
Who is a week 11 dud, Wes? Tell me about it.
I just don't think it's worth starting Brandon Cooks of the Dallas Cowboys. I like what happened a lot last week. We all did. We talked about it. Noah and I both agree. We want to see it again. I mean, when you get 10 targets, that's serious. That's really good. But this guy had no more than 4 catches in any game before that. And you just have to wonder, like, is that legitimate? Can you actually fire Brandon Cooks? And there are plenty of people that I know personally, teams that I beat that didn't start Brandon Cooks, and they all said, if I'd only started Brandon Cooks. And now people are going in this week and they're starting Brandon Cooks. And say what you want about the Panthers offense, or the Panthers defense is one of the best against wide receivers in fantasy this year, somehow, some way. And it might, I don't think this is the week. Like you said, Noah, every week is a playoff game at this point. And you got to fire up the people that you trust the most. And what has Brandon Cooks done to give us the confidence to line him up with just a couple weeks to go before fantasy playoffs? He's not the guy right now. If he does it again this week, then we'll have the conversation. You go start him after this, but I cannot line him into my starting roster and say, yep, that's going to bring me to 500. Brandon Cooks, baby. He's my dud for the week.
Yeah, I love when people are like, if only I had started Brandon Cooks. And it's like, over who? And it's like, well, I had Keenan Allen, and I had and I had Keenan Allen, and I had AJ Brown in there. And then, okay, so not over either of them. So who's your flex? Well, Deontay Johnson. Well, yeah, you wouldn't have started Brandon Cooks over any of them. That wouldn't make any sense. Don't do that. Here's the last thing. They're playing the Panthers. You just said they're good against wide receivers. I'll tell you why. The Carolina Panthers are this year's Houston Texans. People just run the ball. People just run the ball on the Panthers because their run defense is so bad. Deontay Foreman had a revenge game, 17 fantasy points against them, 20 carries, 80 yards, something like that. You run the ball against the Panthers. Can Tony Pollard do that? No. Rico Dowdle, 40-point game. Here we go.
Baby.
That's what it is. Dak Prescott's running for 160 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. It's just you don't roll out Brandon Cooks after this. It's not something you can be confident in, especially because he is still like the third option for targets right now behind CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. So easy dud there. Yeah, don't buy the big performance. Don't chase the points. It's not going to happen for you this week. It's the Panthers. They're going to blow them out. Not for the passing game. Yeah, simple as that. That's all I got.
Dud me, Noah, for week 11.
I'm going to dud you, dude. Week 11 dud is Isiah Pacheco. So I understand. You see the projection. You see how good he's been this year. He's got nearly a 15-point projection in sleeper leagues, I believe. I get it. You got to remember, you didn't have him last week because of the bye week. He was out of sight, out of mind. He scored less than 7 fantasy points in his previous 2 games. And now he goes up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who allow the fewest rushing yards per game to running backs. Don't get tempted on Pacheco. Don't look at it and think, yeah, I mean, he's just been so good, I got to fire him back up. It's not like he's a first or second round running back that it's like you keep him in because they're your guys. Pacheco is not in a positive matchup this week. He will struggle, and I do not expect him, again, to reach a double-digit mark. I'm not sold. I think it's going to be a tough game for him. The Miami Dolphins, who are fantastic at running the football, had a very hard time running the football against the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, Tony Pollard didn't do much running the football against the Eagles. Not going to be a good week for Isiah Pacheco. Go ahead and have him stay on the bench there for one more week and then roll him back out. The Eagles are just such a negative matchup for running backs, and Isiah Pacheco, maybe he'll be super motivated to come out and do well, but I do not expect him to be able to come out and succeed against this Eagles defense. So Isiah Pacheco is a week 11 dud.
It's a risk to bench Pacheco because he's been having a solid season, but if you've got to make the kind of move, I can see people doing that. I can see someone saying like, okay, the Eagles, gosh, Jaylen Carter, man. We just thought about Jaylen Carter for a second. That guy is... I've heard some like Hall of Fame Pro Bowl defensive lineman say he doesn't even know how good he is. He doesn't even know yet. I mean, speaking of that Dolphins game, aside from all the penalties and stuff, he like with the palm of his hand injured one of the Dolphins linemen for weeks just by like pushing him on his back. That Dolphin lineman was out for weeks. He's really good. Not to mention everyone else on that front four and everyone else on that defense. I get, there's the temptation to say, okay, they might want to run a lot to keep Jalen Hurts off the field, but it does depend. It depends if you don't have a better option, because you may just have, like, oh, my other option is, it's
Ty Chandler.
Some random Ty Chandler. Well, Ty Chandler would, I've got
that's a plus.
Ty Chandler. That's a plus. It's a plus. But you get the idea. I can't think of any particular names right now. But if you don't have a better option, then stick with Pacheco. But I can see someone might want to try to pull off that move and be like, I got to work around my roster so I can get that last couple W's so I can get in the playoff picture here. Okay, let's see what happens. That Eagles defense is no joke. And it also feels like the Chiefs are kind of getting away with a lot of wins. So maybe something happens here.
Yeah. No, and not to mention that you can throw the ball quite well against the Philadelphia Eagles. They are giving up the most fantasy points to wide receivers in all of fantasy. So expect Rashee Rice to have a game here. We'll see what happens.